All right, well, it's 12 o'clock. We'll get started here. How am I? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's on my courses right now.
Yes, that's good. All right. So what I want to do was, well, what's due? Well, the only thing that's left, we've got the electrolysis that's due
Tomorrow.
Then we've got graphing, which actually starts Thursday, I think. Or does it start today? Anyway.
Wait, what's the due date then? Is that like Monday? Yeah, it should be Monday.
Well, let's take a look. Well, we'll remove all doubt here, huh? Let's look at the experiment schedule. Make sure we're under control here. Okay, so yeah, electrolysis is effectively Thursday, and graphing is effectively, well, hang on, no, electrolysis was last Thursday, I should say, and graphing is effectively today. Right now, but now I'm looking at this, which means that if you get the graphing in by Friday, you can have the bonus points on that. You'll notice there's nothing scheduled for Thursday, and then we've got the lab final next week. Lab finals on Thursday. So I was going to spend a little bit of time with the graphing just to get you in the right frame of mind for that. Now, all the information you need for the graphing is in the, well, it's in the lab manual. All right, so everything you need is in here. I did make there was a couple of typos in here, so I've fixed those up. This will be this latest version is the one that you should probably look at. I would recommend looking at it online or downloading it. But I did fix up a couple of things that were in there. Now there's some data here, which I wanted to point out. There we go. That's for one of the graphs, is the post-lab questions, and then there's this one here. That's for the first set of questions. Everything is based on this kind of graph paper. This one here. So what you'll need to do is either print this out. You'll have to print it out, or if you have this kind of graph paper, just use it. But you might have to print this out, and then I'm expecting that you'll do the graphs based on that. You can't do the graphs on Excel. They need to be hand drawn, which means you do them on here, then you sign across them, and then you can upload them.
I had a couple questions about this lab. Like, I was reading through it.
Yeah.
And it all pretty much made sense, except for I never had to deal with like the plotting points about the value of the secondary graduations. I didn't really understand that much. Is it okay if you go through this part, like an example of that part, because I didn't.
Yeah,
follow.
Sure. All right, so let's take a look at that. I mean, this is if you actually want to really plot something properly, you do have to worry about those secondary graduations. I do go through it here in this section called plotting the points.
Yeah,
So,
I tried reading that, but I just didn't understand how it came about.
all right. Sorry about that. So the example here, if you had a Y value of 312.4 and you knew that your graduations were such that you had 311.5 to 313, so you know that between each of these, it's 1.5 total, then you know that each of these then would be worth 0.3. So you could do it by trial and error. You could say, well, 0.5 plus 0.3, well, that'd be 311.8. Then that would be 312.1, and then that would be 312.4. So if you're not really comfortable or you don't like the math I've got here, then you can just do it that way. Just do it by trial and error until you get to where you need to be. You know that certainly, but if you had 312.4, it would definitely be between 311.5 and 313. You just got to figure out where. And it's not a matter of just eyeballing it and taking a guess. You can actually figure it out based on the secondary graduations. As long as you're willing to figure out what each of these secondary graduations is worth. Are you okay with them each being 0.3, Miriam?
Well, where did that come from?
Well, if you've got 313 to 311.5, the difference there is 1.5, right?
Yes.
There's 5 graduations in between, these main ones. So 1.5 divided by 5 is 0.3.
Oh, okay. And then you just add 0.3.
Yeah, each time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be 311.5, 311.8, 312.1, and then 312.4.
Okay, I think I understand. So for like the actual lab, when I was finding the increment, like when you do the highest value minus the lowest value divided by the number of boxes. So the number I got for like the x-axis was 3.3. Do you round that up to 3.5 or to 4?
Actually, I'd go a bit further. I'd round up to 5.
We'd round up to 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
You want to make it easy, right? I mean, 4. You could round it up to 4, but 5's nice because then it matches the secondary graduations as well.
Okay, so for the y-axis, because the way you had it in the example, it was like 1.1 something, and then you rounded up to 1.5. For the y increment, I got 3.1. Do we round up to 3.5 or also?
I'd round that up to 5 as well. But if I had something like 2.2, I'd round that up to 2.5, Miriam.
Okay.
I always like to do, but the thing is, there's lots of different possibilities. You could round up, if you had 3.5 or if you had 3.1, you could round up to 3.5, or you could round it up to 4. But then it makes it harder, I think, to plot the points. So I think 5 is fine. If it's 3 or more, I think you can probably do 5.
And how come we're starting like for the recorded data, the first X is 10, but on the paper that we're filling things out, it says the starting number is 0. Do we start at 0 or 10? Where the first X?
Yeah, actually, if it's a choice between those two, I suppose it doesn't really matter. But it certainly would matter for something like this. You see this example here.
Yeah.
The first point, the first X value is like 311 or something like that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to start at 311. You'd want to start at something a bit less than that. So that's why we start at 310.
Okay.
But if your first value is 10, it's so close to 0 anyway that you could probably get away with starting at 0. It's a question of whether or not it's going to fit on your x-axis or not.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions about the graphing lab itself? What's required?
Yeah, my question is plotting the line.
Yeah.
So, we have our points, and what we want to do is make it as close as possible to those dots.
Well, I like to treat it as a corridor, Adam. So you kind of draw a straight line, but try and make it a corridor between the points so that, you know, you've got as much, it's kind of like if you're walking down a hallway and trying to stay close to the center as possible.
Yeah.
And if the hallway wasn't even, then it's trying to find that path where you can stay as far away from, or stay as close to each point as you possibly could.
Yeah.
So it's a corridor through the points is what I'd say.
Okay. And once we get that corridor of the points, we don't use the points for the slope, but we use whatever is on the line.
That's right, yeah. It's 2 points there have to be 2 points that lie on that line to get the line of best fit. That's exactly right.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, folks? All right, well, let me talk about the final then, since the final is next week. The thing is that one thing I feel like I've really pushed with all of you is keeping a good lab book. I think most people would agree that I've been very, very pushy about that. Some people would say too pushy. But this is where it pays off, because now you're allowed to use the lab book for the final, and the better your lab book is, the better you'll do on the final, because your information will be clearer. You won't have to hunt down or remember how to do a calculation, because you've already got it there. You've already laid it out the way I wanted you to lay it out. So it's going to be beneficial to you. Back here. All right. So I'm sorry, I lost it here for a second. So the final here, lab final. I've got a study guide here. Now this study guide goes through what you can expect to see on the final. So be able to find reaction orders, rate constant, molarity of a solution after it's been diluted. You did all this in your lab. You did all this. Write an equation that shows a precipitate, how it dissolves into ions, KSP expressions. You did all that as well. Equilibrium constants, the vitamin C. Now, some of you didn't do that calculation correctly. I corrected it. I mean, I asked you to correct it. I told you what was wrong with it. If you have questions about that, you need to make sure that you can do that so that you can do it on the final as well. This one here with the pH ranges, you'll definitely see something like that. The pH lab, you've got all the calculations you need for that as well. Standard and non-standard cells. The 10 test tube mystery. I mean, I'm going to tell you straight, if you're watching this, you're going to get a benefit, because you'll definitely get something similar to what you did in the results section, right, in the 10 test tube lab. So I would make sure that I practice that ungraded copy of that quiz, of that results quiz in the 10 test tube, so that you can, again, just make sure that you understand how to go about eliminating those compounds and figuring out what you have. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to have that on the test. I'm telling you straight. You're going to have it on the test.
Are we going to have to describe it again like we did in the results?
No. No, you won't. You won't. But you will have to do that other stuff. You will have to do that other stuff though. And let's see, to calculate the KF of water and the molar mass of a metal, what we were just doing in the electrolysis. But what I'm saying is you'll be allowed to use your lab book for the lab final. And as long as, you know, I know that I've really hammered it hard. So, you know, that's where it pays off. Does anybody have any other questions about that? About what's going to be on the final? Okay. Now the other thing is that if you look at the times here, I've got it set up. It starts at 8, goes to 11, right? That's when you can actually log in and take it. So during that time period, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's going to be next week, July 14th. All right, does anybody have any questions? All right, any other lab related questions that anybody wants to go through here? I would recommend getting that graphing lab done early, and get it done by Friday. You'll get the extra points for it, and do what you can to increase your grade, so you don't have to get as much on the final to do well. We can take a look. One thing we can take a look at here. I'm going to go in as a student. Let's take a look at the grade book here. Now, what you'll need to take note of here is after you've completed all the labs, you can figure out how many points you're going to need on the final in order to get the grade you want. So I think that's a good thing. Then of course you've got these letter grades here. You can figure out what your letter grade after the last lab is as well. But I think what's most relevant to you is how many points you need on the final to get the grade you want to get. So I'd definitely be looking at that after you've completed all the work. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Miriam, O'Shawn, any questions? Since you're here?
Nope, none for me.
I'm good. I might email you.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, then we'll leave it there. And good luck. And if you need my help, you'll email me. That's right. All right.
Thank you.
I'll see you all later.
Take care.
You too.
Thank you.